This is Dr. Karen, and you are listening to the De facto Leaders Podcast on the B Podcast Network, where I help pediatric therapists and educators become better leaders so they can make a bigger impact with their services. With over 15 years of experience supporting school-age kids with diverse learning needs, I'll share up-to-date evidence-based practices, my own experiences, and guest interviews designed to help clinicians, teachers, and aspiring school leaders feel more confident in the way they serve their students and clients. I'll cover a range of topics designed to help you support students' emotional and academic growth and set kids up for success in adulthood, including how to support language, literacy, executive functioning, as well as how to help IEP teams working together to support kids across the day. Whether you want to learn more effective strategies for your therapy sessions or classroom, be a more influential leader on your team, or find creative ways to use your skills to advance in your career, I've got you covered. Hey there, it's Dr. Karen, and welcome to a special bonus episode of De facto Leaders. Most of us still don't know what we want to be when we grow up, but at least we know more than we did when we wanted to be pro athletes or movie stars. And for those younger people who are listening, that is the old people version of influencers. As we have conversations with kids and think about how to prepare them for adulthood, helping them explore their passions and interests becomes challenging. Not all communities have access to the resources to be able to provide real-life career experiences to students. Transporting kids and prioritizing funding and resources becomes a logistical issue, which makes it hard to educate kids about their career options. On top of that, it's difficult to help them grasp what it might be like in a particular career, which means they might be missing out on opportunities to cultivate their skills and interests. But what if we had a way to bring career exploration to students so they could explore their interests in an accessible, non-threatening way? With some of the new technology coming down the pipeline, it may be more possible than people think. That's why I had Matt Chaussee from Be More Colorful on the De facto Leaders podcast for a special bonus episode to talk about innovative companies that are impacting K-12 education in a positive way. Matt is the CEO of Be More Colorful, a Midwest-based immersive media production studio whose platform CareerView XR is rapidly gaining national attention. Matt, along with his wife and company owner Katie, lead an innovative team of creatives who are laser-focused on making career exploration affordable, accessible, and fun. CareerView XR provides students and adult career seekers across the country with an unprecedented opportunity to experience real-world careers through virtual reality technology. Recently selected from a field of over 2,000 applicants to be one of the 33 semifinalists for the prestigious Yas Prize, Matt will discuss the significance of the award and how he sees tools like CareerView XR transforming how we guide students on their educational journey. If you have a vested interest in what's happening in K-12 education, definitely take a look at some of the amazing work that's being done by the Yas Prize finalists. You can vote for 2 different organizations per day from now until November 25th to help select a winner of the Parent Choice Awards. The winner of the prize will get $100,000, which they'll devote to funding projects that support innovations in K-12 education. You can vote at yasprize.org/vote. So Yas is spelled YASS. In this conversation, Matt shares how CareerView XR will use that funding if they win the prize. And we also discuss some of the important work being done by Yas finalists and how CareerView XR is helping educate kids on their career options as well as align K-12 curriculum to foundational skills that impact future job skills. Before we get going, I wanted to invite you to listen to the other episodes about Yas Prize organizations on the B Podcast Network. The principles of the Yas Prize are sustainable, transformative, outstanding, and permissionless. This bonus episode was done to share how CareerView XR aligns with the outstanding principle. To learn how they're aligning with other principles through things like accessibility and project-based learning, you can check out the following podcasts that are also on the B Network. First, Matt discussed the sustainable principle with Ross Romano on the Principal PLN podcast. He discussed the transformational principle on the Transformative Principle podcast with Jethro Jones, and he discussed the permissionless principle on Rebel Educator with Tanya Sheckley. So be sure to check the show notes for all of the links to those other episodes, as well as the information about the YAS Prize and where you can vote for the Parent Choice Award winners. And again, that's from now until November 25th. As I'm recording this, it is the middle of November 2023. As I said, there's some really exciting work being done. If you've ever felt frustrated, maybe a little skeptical of technology, or maybe just even curious about what's happening, definitely check them out. There's some really exciting things being done that will be super helpful in thinking about things like transition planning, not just for those older students, but for students who are in the younger grades as well. Now, please enjoy this interview with Matthew Chaussee from Be More Colorful. Today, I am joined by Matt Chaussee, the CEO of Be More Colorful. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Karen. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm really excited to talk with you today and hear more about the work that you're doing. But I think what I typically start off with is just to start with your hero's journey. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you're doing now, and then we can talk a little bit about all the things that you're doing right now.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll give the Reader's Digest version of our hero's journey. We're actually started off as a husband and wife team. Co-founded. Actually, my wife founded the company, brought me on as CEO back in 2016. We thought we were going to shake up residential real estate. That didn't end up working. So we ended up pivoting, and through a series of fortunate events and opportunities that we saw emerge, we saw an opportunity to really start engaging with workforce development and with economic development, which eventually led us to schools and saying these immersive media technologies that are used for selling homes through residential real estate can actually be used very effectively for bringing job sites into the classroom. So it's been really a community efforts, partnerships between employers and counselors and students and teachers and industry professionals. Really, the hero's journey here is the collaboration of all of those entities that have helped make this possible, helped us get these real world, we call them real world virtual reality solutions, into schools across the country to help kids help broaden their perspectives on what they might want to do.
Yeah, that is such a debate among even, I would say, the special ed professionals, but just people in education just overall, because obviously you need some foundational skills. You need the literacy skills, the math skills in order to do the more advanced skills. But then there's this question of how do we make this real for students, and how do we help them apply those situations so that they're actually prepared, so that all of this that they're doing in their K-12 experience isn't so contrived that they know how to do good on tests, but then they don't know how to handle a work situation or even know what their options are.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are a couple of those areas where we see CareerView XR as one of the solutions to that. One is applied knowledge. Things like we've had educators say, oh, well, I had a student saying to me, I'm just going to go into construction. What do I need to know geometry for? And then they can take them up on the structural steel of a high rise that's being constructed. And like, well, you better know your right angles very well if you're going to be up here, right? And also, I mean, the whole point of school, whether it's public, private, charter, homeschool, the whole point is to prepare students for what they're going to do when they're not there anymore. And how on earth can they make a decision if they don't know what their choices are? And that's really At its core, that's what career view is. It's just a taste. It doesn't replace an actual job shadow or going someplace on a field trip in person. It just provides a taste of what that career or industry is, so that a student can make a little bit more informed decision about, do I want to take that CTE course, or do I want to take that summer internship opportunity that's in this industry? We're planting seeds is what we're doing. And some of those are going to grow and flourish, and some of them are not going to be a good fit, but both of those outcomes are wins, right? Because we want students identifying with the careers and the work environments where they can see themselves really succeeding.
Yeah. I mean, there's with the career exploration piece, it seemed like, I grew up in the 80s. It was like, we want to be pro athletes or movie stars or whatever we were exposed to, what our parents did. And a lot of kids their parents are doing things that they want something different for their kids. And maybe in their community, there aren't certain things accessible based on where they live. I worked in a rural community, so field trips and those types of things obviously was a different story compared to urban areas, or even just your background. Again, your multiple generations. How do you branch out from that if it's just, this is what you know? So I see how it could potentially have an impact there. And then the other thing is just all the different options. Like, I think that when you do plan those in-person things, you can be more intentional if you have something that helps you to explore some of those things beforehand, before you devote all those resources, because funding and making all that happen is always an issue in education.
Well, and even using virtual tours and virtual tools like CareerView XR, you can use that for knowledge reinforcement after you have had that in-person field trip experience. I mean, the technology is as good as its applications in the classroom, really. Yeah. And that's our focus is on, we bootstrapped this thing from the start, have built it in concert with what counselors and teachers and students have told us they want to see. We didn't we made our mistake in residential real estate. We tried throwing together features and then seeing who wanted to buy it. And the answer was nobody. Yeah. So when we started approaching this opportunity in workforce development and educational technology, is like, well, we better understand the problem and really get this right. And that's been the focus the last 4 years, is really understanding, what do teachers and students need? How do we meet them where they're at? Not by bringing in a bunch of new VR headsets and saying, hey, now you have a bunch of hardware you need to figure out how to use, but saying, let's create experiences that you work on all of the in-classroom devices and have the headsets be a next step and a supplementary activity, so that we can start blending those new technologies into what's already working in the classroom.
Yeah. So I have so many different questions and directions we can go, but in the interest of just thinking about, as you mentioned, you bootstrapped. So I know that finding the resources to make things happen is always something that you want to do to make sure you can get this in the hands of as many people as possible. And you have something really exciting going on. And so I wanted to hear a little bit about that, but also not just what you're doing, but there are some other really exciting things happening just within the other people who are being considered. So I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about that. And then I've got some specific questions relating to those types of things, partly because a lot of people that might be listening, so there's skepticism around AI, is it replacing humans, and are people going to be using it to cheat, or kids have attention span issues and we're putting technology in front of them and they don't know how to use it. And, there's a lot of concerns, and then also just a lot of frustration about things that are happening in education. But you're seeing some things coming down the line that are pretty exciting that actually might make people optimistic. So that's kind of, I think sharing some of those things that are happening could give people a different perspective on that.
Absolutely. So I'm happy to share more about the Osprey, and I do want to mention when we were visiting with them and learning most about it, we had weren't sure, like, when we first saw the opportunity, we're like, how do you pronounce Yas?
Oh,
Yes.
did I say it
Which is
wrong?
it?
Did I say
It's, well,
yes?
yeah,
Yes.
it's Yas
Okay.
rhymes with sauce. And they actually,
Okay.
on one of the first meetings when we met with them, that's how they explained it. And that has just stuck with me. So Yas rhymes with sauce.
Okay.
The Yas Prize is an education innovation award that we've had the great fortune of applying for and being accepted as quarterfinalists and then moving into semifinalist role. And the Oz Prize is really founded on 4 core principles, and those are the STOP principles. And that's what we're talking about in this entire series here. You and I are going to be talking about that outstanding principle, but there's 4 of them: sustainable, transformational, outstanding, and permissionless. But in talking about the outstanding component of that, really trying to figure out what is that ultimate measure of success for schools, really is figuring out what are students going to do once they've graduated or once they're out of school. And that's really the core of what we're doing with CareerView, is trying to focus on making those options visible, literally visible to those students, so it becomes a possibility. But there are a ton of great innovators there. I should mention there are 33 total semifinalists, so 32 others. Everyone is really doing amazing things across all of those principles, but there were 8 of them that we wanted to call out specifically on this outstanding episode, because they're really doing some cool things that are helping align with those pathways once students get out of school. There's Chesapeake Bay Academy, with providing tailored instruction that really help align individualized needs for neurodiverse students. Melanin Village, this is a Black homeschooling program that helps Black and Brown homeschool moms align culturally affirming curriculum for their students. College Achieve Public Charter Schools. This is a public charter school organization that focuses on character building, STEAM activities, providing opportunities for advanced placement for all students to create that elite educational experience in a public school setting. Randolph Eastern School Corporation, they've got an emphasis on project-based learning, and forming career and technical education and community partnerships that ensure college and career readiness. Savannah Legacy Academy, they've got a K through 8 hands-on learning approach that provides after-school instruction that includes piano, voice, ballet, tap dance, martial arts. I mean, how cool would it be to have those programs immediately after school? That's going to help align kids with, creating a lifelong love of learning. Valiant Cross Academy, they're a school that they've been able to connect every single one of their graduates with a distinct pathway once they leave either college, the military, trade school, or the workforce. There's also Thales Academy, who's known for exceptional educational approach that has direct instruction and really a classical curriculum that focuses on character development, soft skills, and also incorporating technology. And then St. George Municipal School Unit, these guys, they've got a K-8 career and technical education program, which is changing the game by creating opportunity for earlier and more diverse career exploration. We need to be doing more and more of that, introducing kids to careers, not setting them on a defined pathway, but introducing them to those things much earlier. So 8 really great innovators on the outstanding principle. To be clear, all 32 are doing amazing things. We're just doing the series of 4 podcast episodes, so I want to make sure we give each one of the entities, each one of our fellow semifinalists, a shout out here.
Yeah. So how does it work? How do you win the Yas Prize? We want to make sure we clarify that before.
Well, so the Yas Prize itself, it's competitive, but it's also collaborative, because really all of these entities can learn from each other. We're learning a ton from all of the other quarterfinalists, semifinalists. And yes, it is competitive, but we're all working in the best interests of kids and what we want to see the educational landscape become. So really, as we're moving forward, we're working to get the word out there, be able to have lots of people thinking about what we're doing, but also be reaching out to the other organizations that are involved in the Osprize, both the prior awardees, this year's awardees, and next year and the following. We really view this as an opportunity to build a really solid network of people who are focused on kids. But get back to your question about how do you win the
I want to know how does it work, and what should people do to support you or any of the other people who are organizations who are up for the prize?
So there's two components, really. We're moving into a virtual accelerator right now that will end with a boot camp and an opportunity to pitch. The Osprize itself is decided by the Osprize and the Center for Education Reform. So there's not a ton that the general public can do on that side. That's really up to the organizations to kind of show their potential for adhering to those stop principles and continuing to grow. But every semifinalist is also eligible for a Parents' Choice Award. And that is something that anybody can assist with. The Parents' Choice Award is a supplementary award that's going to be given to one of these semifinalists who has shown that, hey, we've got a great idea for how to support more students, more schools with these dollars. It's a $100,000 award. The general public gets to vote for the organization that they think those dollars should go to. If we win the $100,000, what we're going to do is use that money to seed a fund that would help provide access to virtual reality headsets for schools that can't afford them. And we want to make sure that in the spirit of one of the other principles, sustainability, we want to make sure that if we have those dollars, we're able to create not just a one-time use of those, but a program that would help get schools access to that hardware. The way to do that is to go out to yosprize.org/vote. And you can vote for us. You can vote once per day from now through November 25th. But I'd also like to call out that you can actually vote. You can do 2 votes every day. So the reason we mention the other semifinalists is there are some really amazing organizations doing incredible things. We'd encourage you to learn about all other 32. And if any of those are well, they're all going to be, they're all fantastic missions. But if any of those really strike your, pull at your heartstrings, you should vote for them too. We really want to encourage lifting up everyone along this Osprize journey.
Great. So we'll link to that in the show notes, but can you say that website again where people can go to vote?
Yep. It's yosprize.org/vote.
Okay, great. So you can vote every day. Two times, and can the vote go to the same organization?
Nope, you have to choose 2 different ones.
Oh, okay.
If you're doing 2 votes. Yep.
Okay, great. So people can vote for whichever one, as you said, tugs at their heartstrings, including the ones that you mentioned that go along with that outstanding principle, and then any of the other ones, and they're all on the website. Right?
Well, yeah, and just to reiterate, I mean, we had a really hard time picking which ones we were going to mention for which of the principles, because they all align so well with all 4 of them. But I'd really encourage anyone here, go spend some time out there, learn about these semifinalists, learn about the quarterfinalists that didn't make it to the semifinalists, because they also have amazing stories and are innovating and creating a diverse and just really positive landscape for students.
I think that it's comforting to know that people are thinking about all of these different things and doing something about it, because at least, we know that the implementation is starting somewhere. So that's encouraging. I know that with all of the principles that go with the Osprize, we have sustainable, transformational, outstanding, which is the one that we're talking about today on the topic of, being a leader, no matter where you are, and enhance, helping people to develop their leadership skills. And then the final one was permissionless. And we have other shows on the B Podcast Network are addressing some of the other principles. So sustainable, have you done that interview yet?
Yep, with Ross Romano with Principal PLN.
Okay, and then the transformational one, fittingly, is
transformative principle. Well, that was a little bit of a tongue tangle. The transformational principle on transformative principle.
Yeah, but it went along. It fit well.
Yeah, it fit very well.
And then today we're talking about outstanding, and then
Rebel Educator will be talking about permissionless.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense as well. With and I know that I also have an interview coming out with Tanya in, it'll be January, where we're talking about project-based learning and founding a school. And I have also Jethro Jones, and I have also had a conversation on this podcast, and I have cross-promoted one of Ross's other podcasts as well. So lots of great things to check in the show notes, but really we want to talk about those principles. So I would love to shift to just hear about some tangible things that you have seen happen with students. So to give a little context of some of the topics that often come up on this particular podcast, a lot of people are working with kids who have disabilities. So some of the skills that are challenging for them would be things like episodic memory, being able to think back into the past and create a mental image of a past experience and use it for the future. So you go out and you have an experience, and then you've got to recall it with language and think about it. And then also thinking into the future, using your past experiences. And when somebody's explaining something to you, explaining an experience to you, being able to listen to what they're saying and create a mental image in your head of what that looks like. And if you don't have those skills, new experiences can be really scary. And then kids tend to avoid situations that are actually going to make them feel better, have opportunities, uncover passions and skills that are going to make them feel more confident. And as a result, they're doing things that are, social media and gaming and things that aren't real life experiences. But what you're doing is you are providing a scenario where they can experience some of that imagery and do what a lot of people refer to as front loading, preparing them for what lies ahead so that they can learn about it. And so it can seem less scary and maybe exciting. So I'm curious to hear any stories that you have of students who have uncovered interests, passions, things that maybe they had no idea they were interested in, or maybe thought were scary or boring or whatever.
So I do have one, and I might have, I can't remember if I might have mentioned this one on Jethro's show, but you specifically asked, so I'm gonna tell it again, even if I did. I was working with a group of fourth grade students up at an event called Marketplace for Kids, and one of the girls says, "I want to try that bricklayers experience." And in my head, I'm thinking, I don't know if you really do, like, really. But I'm like, but I said, just. I'm not gonna tell a kid no, right? Because who knows what her interests and passions might be. And put the headset on, and we played the video, and she's looking around. She says, "Oh my gosh, these patterns are so cool. This is so satisfying," and takes the headset off. This was only a 2-minute experience, and she looks straight at me and says, "I think I want to be a construction worker." Or I think I want to be a bricklayer, she says, which is, just floored me. I never would have thought that we would have gotten. I thought the response is going to be, "Oh, that looks kind of boring," because that's what a lot of people would think. But for people who, love patterns and design and building something methodically, of course, that's a perfect career pathway. And she was able to see women in the field performing that job. So that's just, those are the types of things that I love. We I mentioned the application of experiences in the schools, being able to start engaging those student questions about, well, when am I ever going to need this? Well, here, no, what am I?
Algebra.
Yeah.
That's
Why do
one
I'm going to
example.
be I'm going to be a welder. Why do I need to know English? Well, one of the welding experiences that we have, it starts with you're actually checking purchase orders and writing up a
Mm,
summary that you're sending off for the pump
yeah.
that is being built, right? There and this is really an opportunity to bring those things home. And I think that, kids that struggle with different subjects, it's not that they can't learn those things. They just haven't been provided appropriate motivation for that. And if you can show how that aligns with a career that they're excited about, then the motivation is there. And that's going to help. It may not make the learning easier, but it may make it feel less laborious for them because they know there's a point to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that it's easier, but it's meaningful to them.
Right. Meaningful is so critically important in getting kids engaged in the classroom. And yeah, we see a huge opportunity for CareerView to serve in that purpose as well.
Yeah. So one of the other things that comes up on that same topic of making it meaningful and tangible is that when we think about differentiated instruction for students with special ed, a lot of times what happens is that they get pulled out of the extracurricular subjects because they have to go and get extra reading help or whatever it is. And of course, reading is really important, but and this is true for all students, not just students who need support. I mean, this should be happening for all kids. But when you have this skill that you're practicing in a contrived setting, not only does it not seem motivating to you, it's also difficult to know how to apply that skill. So what we refer to it in the therapy world as is generalization. I taught the student this skill in this setting, in therapy, in a small group. A lot of it is, one example would be social situations. So just being able to interact in a conversation or being able to use a skill where I have to apply it and kind of remember, oh, wait, that thing that I learned over here, I've got to apply it over here. So the generalization piece is really challenging and is a thing that people constantly say to me. And so I am curious what opportunities you see with this technology for the generalization piece of, here's a skill, we practiced it, it's important, but now we need to go use it.
Yeah. And there are a couple ways to answer that. I guess I would start by saying, I think that a solution like CareerView XR is a good first step to maybe provide
Yeah.
some of that motivation for what a student might want to do. But then maybe following that up with, let's find some employers that could provide some work-based learning opportunities that tie together with what we saw in the CareerView XR platform. Because while
Yeah.
we're not creating an experience for every employer that's out there, we're creating industry experiences. A dental hygienist is doing the same thing, whether they're in Fargo, North Dakota or Los Angeles, California. And if that can incentivize a student to want to learn a skill, and then we can find an opportunity to connect with someone in the dental field, whether that's a classroom visit or a field trip. I mean, there's opportunities there.
Yeah.
The other piece to it would be is, we really view the CareerView XR solution as a school's or a teacher's, a student's first step into immersive media. We're not creating experiences where you can actually manipulate the environments around you. There are a lot of really fantastic companies that are doing that. But those more immersive experiences are a little bit scary for schools they're not scary to do. It's scary for a school to say, we're going to implement this because it's new hardware, it's new software. How are we going to support these devices? And that's really where, when I talked earlier about meeting teachers and students where they're at, that's the focus of CareerView is, let's start using all of the existing devices that are currently in the classroom, and let's ease into the immersive media side of things. A lot of times schools will just have a single VR headset that's shared across multiple classrooms. Just like, I was a kid of the 80s too. Remember when they wheeled the computer in, and you were so excited that
The
the computer
VCR.
or the VCR was getting wheeled in, right?
Yeah.
That's the way it is with VR right now. Eventually, these when the devices get better and better, there will be a device available for every student, but we can't force those things. We need to work with the resources that schools have. What teachers and students well, students are ready for VR right now. I'll just
Yeah.
tell you that, but
Mm-hmm.
we have to work within the limitations of what's currently available to schools. So I see a huge opportunity for schools to get started with immersive media. We want this to be Career View XR to be kind of the basics. I would love for Career View XR to be available in every school and to have it taken for granted that it's just something that's there. And then schools
Yeah.
are able to progress into those even more immersive training simulations where you can reinforce that knowledge in a virtual environment by teaching a student a sequence of steps. Those things are just going to get better and better and better. But you can't have those things unless you have awareness and
Mm-hmm.
some sort of level of interest from the student side in wanting to learn how to do those tasks.
Yeah. See, I love that. And I love that context because so often with tools, and this happens a lot with even some of the therapy tools, it's like, it's here's where it fits in the process, but you have to know how to use it. But even that process of narrowing things down, I mean, just think about the decision fatigue that somebody in a leadership position in a school would have. And to have something that would help with that planning process to know where to invest time and resources could be huge so that you know where do we invest in something more immersive or where do we spend resources to be able to create this real life internship or offsite activity. So that I could see could be huge. Where do you see this fitting in with some of the things that are already being done, like, one-to-one device initiatives, which I know people have various feelings on that. Students using cell phones in the classroom, like how does this work with technology that's already in the school?
Yeah. So that's what we love most about it is that, I mean, when a school has access to CareerView XR, all of their students have access on any device that they're on. And what that does is that extends the conversations from the career exploration session or career exploration week in the school to allowing that student to explore those things on their own or even over the dinner table. And that's one of the things that I'm really excited about is engaging parents in these
Yeah.
conversations, because so often, well, parents and counselors and teachers they all want to do what's best for students. Nobody doesn't, right? But if you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what these different career pathways are, how on earth can you align a student with the right one? So we view this as CareerView XR as much as a tool for students, it's a tool for parents and teachers as well, so that yeah, they know their students, but they also have to really know what those career paths are in order to help guide.
Mm-hmm. So this is something that parents could, in theory, access as well
Oh,
to
absolutely.
be aware of what
Yep.
their kids.
And I think the one-to-one device initiatives helps enable that, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because not every kid has a device at home that they own personally, but when a school issues that and then that's able to be brought home and hey, mom, dad, look at this cool wind turbine technician experience that I saw. We got to be on top of the wind turbine today. And while they don't have a VR headset there to show that, they can use their iPad or Chromebook to do that. And eventually, who knows? My hope would be in the next 5 to 10 years, yes, there is a headset that's issued to every student.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see how that could just go hand in hand with some of those things that are pretty much, I mean, I think the one-to-one device initiative, most districts that have the resources are on board with that and they're using that in some way. And then people are trying to figure out how to handle the cell phone situation in a way that's productive and accepting that they're here to stay, but at the same time knowing that there are both good and bad things. I think a lot of people are focusing on the bad things because cell phones can be very distracting, but if we can figure out how to use them productively.
Yeah, and to be clear, that will be a challenge with VR as
Yeah.
well, because you
Yeah.
take the cell phone now, put it directly in front of their face, so they can't see anything else, and you can't see what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, that there are challenges that are presented
Right.
with this, which is why it's so important to not just jump on we're going to buy the latest technology bandwagon and really be thinking about how do we integrate these new tools to solve the problem. And then you can ease into making those decisions about what technology, what hardware is going to help you with that.
Yeah, like the tool is as effective as the person using it, right?
Right.
I'm curious if there's like any other story about like because you told the student story. Is there something maybe from like the socioeconomic accessibility equity piece that you have seen, or anything else there?
Yeah, there's several things from the accessibility side. Really the entire platform is about creating equitable access to career exploration. So we really want to make sure that as we're developing these new experiences, as the platform evolves, that we're becoming more and more inclusive, not creating feature sets and technology that is excluding students. So, I think as for the access piece of it, we've got a lot of schools that do outreach events, and it's not just in the classroom that they're using it, but they're actually going. We have a client who has built a mobile. They have to call it's a mobile virtual reality classroom where they have CareerView XR loaded onto headsets, and they travel with that van and the headsets loaded in it to different locations. It could be an event, a career fair, but they also they're going to be taking it to individual students' homes where the parents and the student, they could meet with a career counselor in this mobile career exploration van. Mom, dad, and the student can all see what, 3 or 4 different careers are, and then have a conversation with a career counselor about it. There are so many ways to repurpose that content if you get really creative about, now how are we going to connect with people. It's answering, if you've answered that question about how are we going to connect with those people, then this becomes a tool that helps you really really enhance that engagement and have the focus be on authentic career experiences that help students make the right choice.
Yeah, this could be huge with transition planning, and I know that you talked about doing it as early as 4th grade, but students are required to, at a certain age, have a transition plan. And so we need to have those conversations for the students, whether they are graduating at when they're 18, whether they're staying in school until their 22nd birthday. So all of those things can be really important there. And I think that it's good to be having those conversations about what the options are, especially as kids go through their school experience. Their skills change. We learn more information about what they're able to do. Their interests are cultivated. So yeah, well, thank you so much for sharing about all the work that you're doing and being here with me today. What can people do to learn more about CareerView XR and also the YAS Prize before we wrap up?
Yeah, to learn more about CareerView XR, you can just go to careerviewxr.com. There are several free experiences out there. We're more than happy to answer any questions that people have about the platform. And as far as the YAS Prize, I again would really encourage you to go out and learn about all the semifinalists that are out there. As people doing some really amazing things, and hopefully that can inspire some of the listeners to be thinking about what else they might be able to do to better engage with students. We would love it if you'd head out to yasprize.org/vote. We'd greatly appreciate a vote so we can help get more headsets into schools for a winner of that Parents' Choice Award. But also, be looking at those other entities that are out there and find the ones that you love and align with, and give them some votes too. We really want to see. We want to see everyone uplifted by this wonderful opportunity that we've had to talk about our journey and these STOP principles through the series of these podcasts.
Yeah, great. And that's from now until November 25th that you can go and vote for 2 organizations per day.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you again for being here.
Thanks, Karen. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to check the show notes for the links to the information about the Yas Prize, as well as where you can vote for the Parent Choice Award winners from now until November 25th, as well as the links to the other shows on the B Podcast Network, where Matthew discussed the other principles of the Yas Prize. Again, that's Principle PLN with Ross Romano, the Transformative Principle with Jethro Jones, and Rebel Educator with Tanya Sheckley. You can actually find out about all the podcasts on the B Network on bpodcastnetwork.com, but definitely check the show notes for the links to the episodes about the Yas Prize. There's some really exciting work being done. It makes me optimistic about what's possible, so I encourage you to take a look at some of the work that's being done. If you've been enjoying the De Facto Leaders podcast, please hop over to your favorite podcast directory and leave me a rating or review. If you have a suggestion for a guest, or if you would like to be a guest on the show, send me an email at talktome@drkarenspeech.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time.